Hi, I'm Bill, and this is the Warrior Medic. I want to tell you about a project on a driveway and a vow that I made. I was 16 years old, and my father told me to dig a ditch across our paved driveway. So I was breaking the pavement with a pick, and I was working hard. But my father, he decided I wasn't working hard enough. So he picked up a leather strap and he beat me until he was satisfied. When he finished, I looked him in the eyes and I told him, Dad, take a close look at me now, because when I'm 18, I'm out of here and you'll never see me again. My father stopped for a moment. Then he laughed and walked away. That laugh, not his anger or the cruelty, but that laugh. That was the moment the abandonment wound finished installing itself in me. Because that laugh said one thing more clearly than any words could. I don't care whether you stay or go. And before I go any further, I need to tell you something about my father. Something I didn't really understand until decades later. My father's father, my grandfather, died when my father was 12 years old. 12 years old. That's the age a boy needs his father the most. The age when a boy is watching his father and learning what men do with pain. But understand this, before he died, my grandfather inflicted brutal wounds on his family, on his sons, that affected them for the remainder of their lives. The beatings that my father received from his father warped his view of what real, manly fatherhood should and does look like. The drunken rages, the typical abuse that most people only read about in newspapers today, those were the normal daily routine for my father. Learning what a man does with loss or what a man looks like on the inside, these lessons were needed, but his father was not there to teach those lessons, ever, alive or afterwards. His father was gone, not by choice, by death, by the abandonment that was real regardless. My father grew up without a father. Nobody showed him what a father looks like. In fact, quite the opposite. And nobody modeled what a man does with his pain or taught him how to just stay. God said it plainly in Exodus 20. I visit the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generation. My grandfather's cruelty, followed by his absence, wounded my father, and my father's wound wounded me. And I, without knowing it, found myself wounding my own sons. 3 generations, one unhealed wound, passing itself forward. But God didn't stop at verse 5, because verse 6 says, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me. The wound passes 3 or 4 generations, but healing passes to 1,000 generations. That's the chain we're breaking right now, together. So this brings us back to the question. Standing in the driveway where this story started, what did that boy conclude? Two things simultaneously. First, the conclusion. He doesn't care whether I stay or go. Not that his father was angry or cruel, something worse. His father was indifferent. The man who was supposed to love him the most found his son's anguish amusing. That indifference is the abandonment wound's deepest cut. Not I hate you or I wish you were different, just a laugh and a turned back. And second, the vow. When I'm free, I will never return. I hate this man, and when I leave, I will never come back. That vow wasn't just about his father, it was about everyone. The boy standing in that driveway made a decision about the entire human race. Nobody gets all of me. I will always have one foot out the door. Because when they ultimately disappoint me, and they will, I need to be able to walk away. I kept that vow for years. The conclusion and that vow showed up everywhere. Layer one, I pushed people away, even while desperately seeking the approval of my superiors and bosses. There is a contradiction at the heart of the abandonment wound. The man who concluded nobody cares spent his entire life trying to make people care, but only the safe ones: authority figures, bosses, superiors, people whose approval felt like it meant something, people he could perform for. Peers or friends, people who got close, he pushed them away. Before they could leave or make him leave, he pushed them away. Now, layer two, I tried to make myself indispensable everywhere I went, every job, every team, and every organization. The goal was simple: make yourself so valuable that letting me leave becomes impossible. If they need you, they can't leave you, and they can't let you go. If you're indispensable, you're safe. The abandonment wound survival strategy: earn your right to stay, make them incapable of letting you leave every single day. And then layer three, and this is the hardest one to admit. My intimacy was superficial. I could achieve closeness with people, but I always reserved a part of myself, a secret room or a back door, an exit I could use when they ultimately disappoint me. Not if they disappoint me, when. The wound had already decided the outcome before the relationship had even begun. Nobody got all of me, because giving all of me meant they could hurt all of me when they left or when they didn't need me anymore. And I knew they would leave, or that they would make me leave, because the most important man in my life had laughed and walked away. Laughing. He certainly didn't need me to stay. He made that clear. The turning point came when I finally understood something about my father. His father brutalized him until he was 12 years old. Then he died, never having had the chance to reconcile with my dad, never having had the chance to say, "Son, I am so sorry." That chance passed with his father's death at 12 years old, and my father, abandoned at 12, with no one to show him what true manhood, fatherhood, or husbandhood can and should look like. He took those lessons, those wounds, into his very soul, and they defined him. The examples my grandfather left, his legacy, was a warped version of what God made man for. So, we need to think about that. The man who laughed and walked away from his sons was once a 12-year-old boy whose abusive father had left and never come back. Not because he chose to leave, but because death took him. And that boy, my father, never healed from that loss and never received the true lessons of manhood. He never learned how to stay, never learned how to show up for a son because no one had ever shown up for him. The man who beat me with a leather strap and laughed when I threatened to leave was passing on exactly what had been done to him. not deliberately, but from an empty well. You can't give what you never received. So, when I finally saw my father that clearly, not as the man who abandoned me, but as the boy who was abandoned first, the hatred began to shift, not into approval and not into pretending it was okay, but into grief. I grieved my father. I grieved the father he could have been. I grieved the boy that he was. And I grieved the years of estrangement that the wound had cost us both. But grief alone doesn't break a vow. The vow I made at 16, nobody gets all of me, that required something more than understanding. It required someone I could finally trust not to laugh and not to walk away. Psalms 27, verse 10 says, "Though my father and mother forsake me, the Lord will receive me." The father who never laughs at his son's pain, a father who never turns his back, the father who receives even when the earthly father dismissed. My healing father, he was the first relationship where the back door was not needed. Not because I earned his loyalty, but because he gave it unconditionally. He would not laugh and walk away. He had proven that. On a cross with nails in his hands, he stayed. And when I finally trusted him with the part of myself I'd been hiding, the secret room, the exit, he didn't leave. He received it. That's where the vow broke, not through willpower and not through therapy alone. In the moment I finally trusted someone who had proven he wouldn't leave. The abandonment wound doesn't heal by finding people who say they won't leave you. It heals by finding the one who has already proven it. So, I have one question. This week, I want you to meditate on this. What vow did I make the day I felt abandoned? Not the event itself, but the vow that came out of it. I will never need anyone. Or I'll leave before they leave me. Whatever it was, name the vow, because you can't break what you haven't named. And know this, the vow that protected you as a boy is costing you as a man. It can be broken, but only by the one who has proven he will never laugh and he will never walk away. My father laughed and walked away, and I spent decades making sure I got there first, until I met a friend who stayed. Not because I earned it, and not because I made myself indispensable, but because that's just who he is. Get Forged by Fire, the book that started this journey. The link is below. Tap the coin logo on your screen. That subscribes you to this channel. Remember, we're all becoming warrior medics, so reach back, help someone on the trail. My name is Bill. This is Warrior Medic. No man left behind.